wanted to promote a more pedestrian-centric community. Motivations behind it were health benefits, an increased sense of place, quality of life, and then also economic benefits to businesses, being able to connect pedestrians to commercial opportunities. It's also an opportunity for San Ramon to become a leader in walkability issues within the region. The initial walking loop that's shown here in red provided opportunities to connect many features in the city core: Central Park, City Hall, the library, City Center, as well as the connection to the Lake Trail at Bishop Ranch 2600. Can I have the next slide? So since that initial effort, the vision for the walking district has continued to evolve. It's now part of the City Council goals and priorities for our work plan. The area in which we are studying has expanded through this process to include essentially the area from Bollinger Canyon Road over to Crow Canyon Road, with Alcosta to the east and the freeway to the west. And so again, this is an increased focus on pedestrian connectivity and walkability in the area. I would also add that as part of this emphasis on looking at opportunities within this area, it's also had the ability to influence some of the development projects that have occurred in this area, such as the City Walk Master Plan, which includes pedestrian connectivity, parkways, and the like as part of that design effort. And so this is an opportunity for the master plan to integrate with some of those other designs in the area, and then also build on them and make additional connections to the community at large. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Stephanie.
Thanks, Lauren. And as that was a great introduction, and as Tyson said, I'm Stephanie Brixby. I'm a principal with Design Workshop and happy to be here with you tonight. Wish we could be in person, but we will try to be as interactive as possible with our presentation tonight to be able to allow us to hear from you. So with that, you got to hear a little bit about who we are, but we wanted to start off with a quick question and get some input from all of you in terms of, when you think of a walking district, what comes to mind? And so how we are planning on getting that input from you is we're going to use a program called Mentimeter. And how that works is if you use your cell phone, or if you open a new web browser, if you're using your computer, you can open a new web screen on the side, and then go to menti.com, www.menti.com. And then when I go to the next slide, you're going to see some numbers at the top of your screen. You're going to enter those numbers into your screen and then be able to type or text your answer right into your phone or on your computer. So we'll just take a quick check to be able to try it out. So if you could go to menti.com, type in the code 845738 and then share with us a little bit. When you think of a walking district, what comes to mind? What are those first, 1 or 2 words that pop into your mind about what makes a walking district great? And we'll give you just a couple of minutes to share your answers. And as you do, as you hit submit, they should appear on the screen in front of you. So a town square park. An interesting place, exercise, social interaction, dogs, great. Exercises, stroll and accessible. Community, we've been meeting with stakeholders and hearing a lot about similar ideas. The idea of being able to come together, health, but then also the social aspect and being able to just spend time with each other. Some of the activities that might be around restaurants and shops, being able to stroll and reach places on foot. And of course, the Iron Horse Trail, what a great asset for the city. Shade, loops, education, such great ideas. Place to bring visitors. safe and pleasant surroundings. Oh, I love it. Teens have a place to be and an interesting place to spend time. You can see some common ideas with strolling, the social aspect, being bike free and no cars, and connecting with the community, friendliness, social, greenery, being connected. Oh, I like it. Small venues for pop-up art. Sailing a boat. We've got some great lakes. Connection to people and places and pride, feeding, shade, focal points. It's interesting what comes to mind when we think of, those places that we want to be and hang out and be able to walk around, meet our neighbors, shop, and just connect, I think, both with each other and with our environment and a carbon-free community. Great, these are really all great ideas. And we're gonna continue the conversation of thinking about those ideas as we continue on. Beautiful landscaping, tree canopies. You can really envision people walking, sitting, connecting. Okay, we'll give 1 more minute for any final thoughts. Places surrounded by water, areas to sit. 10,000 trees, it's a good metric. Lighting, picturesque. Oh, Wi-Fi, that's a new one too. Yeah, Pearl Street in Boulder, what a great example of a great place to walk and hang out. Having nature back into the city, car-free shopping area. Really great. We're going to keep moving and provide some additional opportunities for some more questions as we get through the presentation, and then being able to talk with you a little bit more at the end of the presentation. But just to orient you in terms of our overall process. So we have really looked at this as a 6-month process, and we're in this early thinking about the opportunities, thinking about what could be, and then also doing data collection. So understanding what the existing infrastructure is and what also the existing plans are that are out there that have been proposed for improving walking and improving some of the walkability elements within our project area. After we meet with you today, we'll be working at synthesizing a lot of the information we hear from you and that we've heard from other stakeholders that we've done through the data collection, and developing a series of draft alternatives and plan recommendations that we'll bring back to you for your input in May. And then we'll be refining and documenting those ideas in May, and then planning to finish up in July. As I mentioned, as part of the process, we really want to hear from you. Again, we want to make sure that this is a place that the community wants to come and walk and be able to experience all those great ideas that were just shared. So we started off with a series of stakeholder interviews. So a few conversations with people to understand a little bit more on both the technical side and then also on the community side, some specific things that are important to understand about what makes up the infrastructure of the project area, and then also what some of those plans are for the walking district itself. So we've met with city engineering staff, transportation, traffic. We've met with Contra Costa County, the East Bay Regional Parks District, thinking about the Iron Horse Trail and the role of that pathway as part of this system. We've met with some key community stakeholders, members of the Walking District Committee, that grassroots effort that Lauren spoke about. And then we've also met with some of the major property owners as well. And then yesterday we brought those groups together as part of a virtual charrette. So hearing independently from people and then bringing people together to meet together and listen to each other. So members of the grassroots Walking District Committee and then also property owners in the project area came together, shared ideas, and came up with some ideas for what success might look like from their perspective. And now we're coming to the public, again, layering on opportunities for the entire community to really weigh in and share your thoughts. We'll meet with you twice, as I said, throughout the process. So This is the first time. We'll come back again in May to share the initial ideas. And then we'll also be updating information on the project website, and then have a number of different opportunities to provide input as we do updates at committee meetings, at the Parks and Community Services meetings, and then also Planning Commission meetings and the City Council meetings. So we look forward to spending the next few months with you and learning and being able to shape the plan with you in tow. So some of the things that we've heard as part of those initial conversations, and some of those conversations will continue tonight to layer onto, but we've heard about the gems and the great destinations that are in this area. The idea to, as part of the recommendations, to see about opportunities to provide wide pathways and separate the uses, so you don't have, cyclists sharing the same space as on a sidewalk with a pedestrian, but being able to, where possible, be able to separate those uses. Similar to some of the concepts that were shared a few minutes ago, the idea of providing shade and seating, making it convenient and comfortable and a safe and pleasant place to be. That we really want it to be something that we're proud of, a place, again, that idea of connecting with others in the community, where you can really see all kinds of people walking and connecting with each other and socializing. We also heard about the Iron Horse Trail overcrossing projects and how critical they will be in terms of thinking about continuing that regional connection and being able to connect people so that they can walk to the district without having to cross Bollinger Canyon Road and Crow Canyon Road on the north. The opportunity that the walking district has to help businesses. So to make sure that we're trying to create a place that's vibrant and that thrives so that people can really enjoy the city and enjoy it in a new way. We heard about some of the constraints as well, specifically that the Iron Horse Trail does have utilities in it. It creates some challenges for increasing shade, and then the maintenance along the pathway and the connections to it also have to be part of the considerations that we put into place in terms of thinking about the realities of implementation and what can be. There's also a discussion about opportunities for wayfinding and layering that wayfinding with both the Iron Horse Trail signage and then also the City Center and City Walk Master Plan signage. And then opportunities, again, as we think about making it a vibrant and a place that people want to be, the opportunity to have different experiences along pathways, fun things for people to see and do, and the idea of and role of art as part of the district, and having really something for everybody. So as we start thinking about a walking district, one of the first things that we think of, in addition to understanding what the existing infrastructure looks like, but we also want to understand what those principles of walkability are. What makes a place that you want to go and walk and socialize with other people and sit and exercise. The first of those principles is that it really has to be traversable. And when I say traversable, it means that it's a place where you can actually get from one place to another in a physical way, that there's no major obstacles, that the terrain or slope of it isn't too steep, that it's easy to walk on, there's a non-slip surface, and that the path, the quality of that path is such that it really enhances and enables people to walk upon. The second principle is that it needs to be direct. We like to be able to get from place to place in as quick a way as possible sometimes. So understanding where those destinations are and making sure we're connecting those destinations. And if we do have longer pathways, that we make them interesting along the way. So finding ways to have shorter block distances is one of the tools that urban designers use to help break up that experience as you're walking along in a city area where the block itself helps to create a shorter distance. Third, that we need it to be safe, right? We want to make sure that where there is an intersection of people and cars or intersection of people and bikes, that we're separating those uses and that we're really minimizing those crossing points. So where you do have a crosswalk, that it's short if possible, you have a median for people to rest in the middle, that crosswalks are marked, and that if you can have separated crossings, such as the Iron Horse Trail overpasses that are planned. Again, thinking about those separation of uses between cyclists and pedestrians, between vehicles and pedestrians, and then also, other mobility elements such as scooters and things, about making sure that we have places for those so that, people and the speed that the pedestrians walk is really accommodated. That there's lighting, and especially if for evening lighting of crosswalks, again, trying to make sure that the pedestrian itself is visible, and as a motorist, you can see where a pedestrian is and really minimize any risk. The next principle is comfort. And again, I've heard this a lot as part of the stakeholder discussions, that idea of, shade, opportunities for seating, site amenities, and then where there are walkways and sidewalks near busy highways or roadways, being able to set them back a little bit and provide that little bit of buffer that can just create a little bit nicer experience. And in other instances, it might be that we're slowing traffic and trying to make it a more pleasant environment that way. The next principle is that you want it to have it lively. You want it to have it interesting, and this idea also came up in some of the comments that were shared earlier this evening. But that can be achieved by having an intensity of uses, having a number of different destinations that people want to see and interact. So shopping, retail, restaurants are a great way to be able to provide places where people want to go and walk and see other people. The other way that is achieved is having activated or transparent ground floors. So these are buildings that, as you walk past them, might have glass that you can look in, where you can either see, office workers, or you can see, the commercial uses, restaurants, or it could have lifestyle visibility as well. There's a lot of different new trends in terms of thinking about making places that people want to walk by and see what's going on, and that idea of prospect refuge and planning, which is that you like to see others, and then also sometimes be seen as well, and then have a space to reflect as well. It's also achieved by mixing uses, so having residential and then also having office uses or restaurants in the same area is another way to, again, create an environment that has that interest and the activity. And then again, the idea of programming activities, so farmers markets, food trucks, different events throughout a special district in the city core area could also be considered as opportunities, again, to create a place that is lively and has that community activity. The next principle is enticing. So this is the idea of wide pathways, that the pathway and the environment surrounding it is really something that is enticing, and that is some place that you want to hang out and be and walk around. So signage, wayfinding, views, the lakes, arts, and interesting architecture, those are all elements that really help to enhance and create an enticing environment that people might want to walk around. And then finally, there's also layering walkability with other transportation modes. So thinking about how it relates to biking and transit, and then also how people arrive to the walking district via vehicle. So encouraging people to park once, get out of their car, and then walk. So again, connecting up, providing places for people to park their bikes, to be able to then enjoy the rest of the environment and walk. And then finally, the idea of being able to enhance health. So this is the idea, again, that was picked up on and shared this evening, as well as the idea of being able to encourage people just for walking for exercise. So thinking about how things sync up, and you might have different types of loops, different uses for how people might use the walking area. And then really that idea of both connecting people to nature and outdoors for their mental and spiritual health, but then also connecting us to each other, connecting to neighbors and the community. So that's a quick overview of some of the principles of walkability. And now we're hoping to hear from you a little bit about what you think is the most important of those principles for us to get right for the walking district. So for the City of San Ramon, out of those 8 ideas, 8 principles, if you can select in the polling screen that should have popped up on your screen, which do you think is the most important for us to get right. And we'll just give you a minute to look to answer.
About half of the people have voted so far. We'll give it another 30 seconds.
Yeah, the answers are coming in. We could give you the spoiler behind the scenes of how it's stacking up. But we'll wait for you to log your answers.
Getting some answers for lively and interesting. Comfortable. Okay. A few more coming in here. Okay. That should pop up.
All right, yeah, thanks, Tyson. So it looks like the number one would be enticing. So 21% of people tonight feel like making sure that it's an interesting place to be, wide paths, the experience along that path is really important. Second to that is lively and interesting. So again, the idea of some activities, that there might be some programming and other uses, and then layering with other transportation would be the third top answer. I guess, close fourth, I guess, would be that it's a comfortable place to be as well, that there's shades and seating, and a little less for some of the others, but still some importance as well. Thanks. So we have one next poll. So go on to our next poll, which Tyson can launch, which is, Lauren had reviewed some of the draft project goals that have been developed. And our question is, out of those goals, which represents your top priority for the walking district? So is it to create a comfortable place for people to walk and bike, to identify walking and biking loops and routes, to connect to civic, recreation, and commercial destinations, to enhance wayfinding, to provide a long-term vision for pedestrian-oriented access, or is there another goal that we should be considering?
Just about 20 more seconds. We'll leave it open. Got about 80% voted. Okay.
All right, thanks. So top two here would be creating a comfortable place. And second to that is, or tied with that, is a long-term vision. The second tier of top goals would then be identifying the walking loops and connecting destinations. And then potential ideas for another goal as well. So we'll keep thinking about and refining those goals as we go along. Thanks. So continuing on, the next piece of overview that we wanted to share prior to doing a few more interactive survey questions is to just review the project area conditions a little bit. So when we think about the project area, you know, as I mentioned before, some of the things that we heard as part of those interviews was the idea of destinations and gems. And I think this also comes from trying to create a place that is activated, that is a lively place to be. So to orient you on this diagram, you can see the both existing and proposed projects. So for those areas that we have known projects that have master plans for within this project area, there's a sort of box with a crosshatch across it where there might be new infill or new development projects. New parks are identified in green squares or triangles. And then you can see cities, the community center and Central Park in the top of the diagram with the story walk around it, and then city center. In orange or yellowish color are those areas that have an activated use, so dining, restaurants, or an activated ground floor, such as at the city center and some of the restaurants at Crow Canyon Commons, and then also the lake, so Annabelle Lake, Lake Annabelle and Lake Cecilia, and then the proposed community building amphitheater that are proposed there as well. There's also identified on the diagram some of the programming elements, so farmers markets, where there's food trucks. So again, thinking about the relationship of some of those uses and destinations that might serve as anchors and draws as we think about crafting the walking district and some of the recommendations for what the pathways themselves might look like and some of those pedestrian amenities. Second, we look at what the system itself looks like. So where are the sidewalks? You know, how wide are they? What is the relationship of the sidewalk to the streetscape? So in this diagram, the lines in red illustrate sidewalks that are right next to the street. Sidewalks, the lines that are in teal or blue represent sidewalks that are separated from the street, sometimes just a few feet, sometimes a little bit more. You can see the Iron Horse Trail running left to right near the top of the diagram, and then also those connection points in blue and then also teal dots over. So you can see in blue the proposed overcrossing projects at Bollinger Canyon Road and at Crow Canyon Road, and then in teal the existing access points to the Iron Horse Trail. Also, you can see where there's gaps in the sidewalk system. So you can see where there's the dashed line where there is not a sidewalk to walk on that side of the road. And then in gold, in yellow, you can see the proposed sidewalks that have been proposed as part of the City Walk Master Plan. The other piece to think about is how people cross roads, because there are certain instances when you do need to cross a roadway and what that looks like. So is it a crosswalk? Is it a signed crosswalk? Striped, and what that striping looks like, and then also if it has a signal. So signals sometimes can be a nicer place to cross because traffic will stop and that you have a certain amount of time to cross, and then that timing can be modified as well to again enhance the walkability. We also, as I mentioned, thinking about the future and about how this layers into not just the walking district now, but in the years to come, some of the opportunities that are presented as part of the planned projects within this project area. So this diagram shows the proposed pedestrian circulation that's been proposed as part of the city center master plan. The image to the right again shows a series of parkways, paths, and sidewalks and pedestrian streets. It's really intended to link up all of the areas and connect people through this portion of the project area. You can also see dashed lines across those buildings, so the gray buildings within the center of, near Lake Cecilia and Annabelle Lake, the dashed lines that represent connectivity through. So an idea to be able to provide some permeability through buildings and at certain areas and certain times of day being able to allow people to pass through so that, again, that connectivity is continued through. You also see parkways in the diagram to the left the section thinking about how that might look in a street. So this is a diagram at Camino Ramon, looking at how the separated uses from a biking area and then providing a pathway for people to walk as well. And then in illustrative form, these are two renderings from the City Center Master Plan, again, illustrating that idea in perspective. So you can see the idea of being able to provide a place, a designated place for people to walk away from the street, along with bike lanes on the road and a nice tree canopy. Next, thinking about bikes. So you have the walking facilities with sidewalks and then bike facilities. And just to orient you before we go to the next map, there's 4 classifications of biking facilities in California, class 1 through 4. Class 1 is a bike path that is similar to the Iron Horse Trail, where it's separated from the road system and 10 or more feet wide and paved. A class 2 bike lane is in the road system, so it's striped. Often they might be painted green and have a designated place for a cyclist within the road corridor itself. A bike route, class 3, is also a facility that's incorporated within the roadway. That's typically a very low volume road where it's really sharing both the vehicle lane, travel lane, and the bikers come together, but it's designated as a bike route because it is a lower volume road. And then the final classification is class 4, a cycle track. This is also a bike facility that's within the curbs of a roadway, but has a buffered separation. That buffer might be, as you see here, where it's a planted buffer strip. It could be parking, it could be bollards, but an actual physical barrier between the travel lanes of the vehicles and the cyclists. So looking at the existing and proposed bike system for the project area, this map represents that proposed bike system that has been prepared as part of the Bikeway Master Plan that was recently completed. So again, you can orient yourself with the trail, the Iron Horse Trail, as it crosses right to left across the map in the greenish double lines. And then the class 1 multi-use paths that are proposed, again, those are similar to character of the Iron Horse Trail, where they're separated from the roadway, are along Camino Ramon and then also along Bollinger Canyon Road. And then thinking about, again, I think the bike facility that has a little bit more buffer from traffic would be the class 4 separated bike lanes, and those are shown here in magenta with the dash. And then you can also see, thinking again about that opportunity to layer the walking district and walkability with transit, but thinking about how transit connects and what the potential transit routes are. So you can see in this diagram, the transit center, bus stops, the Bishop Ranch shuttle route shown in the magenta line with BR. And then you also see the proposed mobility hubs that have been proposed with the City Center Master Plan, where you might have places where you can pick up a bike, have a bike share hub, being able to have that as a node to be able to, again, spur people to walk and bike and not use their car within the project area. So as we have taken a look at a number of the different route opportunities and what areas are walkable, both with existing conditions and then thinking about the future conditions with some of the proposed improvements as part of the City Walk Master Plan, you can see here a number of different sort of layers of different loops that could be considered. And then again, I think there's also just really improving the infrastructure as a whole so that you have this really connectivity throughout the entire district. But you can start within the city center or Central Park near the community center with story walk loops. So in the upper portion of the diagram in red, you can see the story walk loop in red as a nice interpretive walk, a shorter loop. And then that could layer into a larger loop shown here in blue, described as the interior loop that works its way around the lakes. And that could layer again into a larger connective loop as you come north-south along Iron Horse Trail, along this magenta line referred to as a lakes loop. Again, thinking about the opportunity and improvement of those parkway systems and pathways. Again, improving and creating a little bit wider place for people to walk and encouraging it. And then also a future opportunity with the City Walk Master Plan, but a north-south connection from Story Hill Homes as a future park north-south to City Center, and being able to actually cross the lake and again, provide some permeability through the buildings itself as well. So again, really trying to think about those layered opportunities and engaging people and providing multiple opportunities for people to walk and discover and really explore the project area in the city core. So now we wanted to really, again, hear a little bit more from you. So again, going back to Minty.com, we have a couple of different questions that we'd like to learn a little bit more from your perspective about some of the opportunities. So the first question is, what are the gems? What do you see as the key destinations of the walking district? We had some that were shown on the map, but what would you see as the gems that we should make sure to capture? We'll give you a few minutes to answer and to think about that. But what do you see as some of those key places? Good ideas. Things we've heard, but then some new ideas as well, making sure the Redwood Grove, the kids play park, the lakes, making sure we are inclusive, the soccer fields, City Center, Iron Horse Trail, again, the farmers market, a little bit of sense of the character that it's curved, not just a straight path, but thinking about the experience along it as well. Having sitting places, views and shops, and restaurants. The mix between both the passive piece of taking a stroll and then a little bit of connecting to some of the more active areas, both commercial areas and then also recreation zones. Story Walk, we'll give a shout out to Brad for Story Walk. New downtown. And arts and work. It's a great idea of making sure that we also connect to the office buildings as well, providing a place for people to easily have a walk during lunch or just a break, quick short break. With Camino Ramon frontage. Outdoor performances. They're great to see coming through. Thanks. Thanks for the great ideas. And North Canyon frontage. Again, thinking about City Center, farmers markets. A number of ideas about thinking about the tree canopy with redwoods and then also just that environment of creating the forest. So the art and wind backings, those are fun. Connecting to sports and shades, charm, love it. having vistas. We'll give it just 30 more seconds or so. We'll go on to our next questions. They're really good for us to, again, the maps that I reviewed are still draft and still working, so we're in working format. So definitely an opportunity to refine and layer in a lot of these ideas as well. Vistas of the hills and fountains. We're going to go on to the next question. These are all really great. Thank you. So thinking about the walking district, if you had to think about others as they describe it, what 2 words would you hope that others would use to describe the walking district? Either a family member, a friend, or maybe somebody that's visiting San Ramon. What 2 words might they use? Right, inviting, enjoyable, relaxing as well. Safe and diverse, accessible, and beautiful. Right. To be a meeting point and, oh, amazing city. Love it. Natural, inviting, community, shade. Safe and calm. Dog friendly, iconic. A place for seniors. Where you can meet people and have a place for kids. Carbon negative. I love it. Danville's envy. A meeting point, again, great ideas of the social aspect, bringing together community, and then just connecting with nature as well. A coffee point. European type walkways. Ah, I wish I lived here. Picturesque. Refreshing. It has a definite feel to it. No waste. Connecting, I like it. And scenic. We'll give you another 30 seconds to a minute, finish up this question and move on to the next. Pedestrian priority. Again, place for families, place for seniors, place for kids, diversity, welcoming, charming, and nature inspired. See a couple of different themes coming through. And a destination. Great. Beautiful walk. Thanks for those ideas. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next question. But yes, let's make it Danville's envy. I love it. So this question is multiple choice, and you can select as many as you would like. But when you think about where you or other people currently like to walk or bike in the project area, what are some of the top places that you like to walk or bike? And again, you can select as many as you want. Those answers are coming in. You can see some commonalities with Iron Horse Trail, Central Park, and City Center. And of course, the lakes and the library. A little lower on the list would be some of the roadways. Marketplace. Good to see Central Park up there. Give a shout out to Kathy for that one too. Another minute. About half of you been able to provide your response. But definitely some trends in terms of some of the areas that people like to walk. Again, the Iron Horse Trail, Central Park, City Center, and the lake. Community Center, the library, and Marketplace. And a little less so with some of the, just along the roadways themselves. And then as we get to the Q&A, and as we, if you have an opportunity to share other places that you think are places that we should be aware of or that have great walkability, we'd love to hear from you. I'll give you one more minute. All right, we'll go ahead and move on. Thanks for those thoughts. Again, top is the Iron Horse Trail, and then next, Central Park. So thinking of those areas, now instead of multiple areas, we want to understand what is the place that you most like to walk or that others like to walk. So on your screen, you should have a dot that you can move anywhere on the map. And if you can just drop it onto those places that that one place that you most like to either walk or bike in the project area. Got a dot on that popped up on the lake, and the Iron Horse Trail. A couple of dots on City Center. And then one at the intersection of North Canyon and Bishop Ranch Drive. Coming down by Sports Basement and the Iron Horse Trail, Marketplace. Up near Crow Canyon Commons. This is helpful, especially if you weren't able to have an option to be able to select in the last question. You're able to drop your dot exactly on the spot that you really like to walk. Near Story Walk in the Community Center or Central Park. We'll give you just another minute or so. Drop any final locations on. Again, some common themes about the Iron Horse Trail and City Center. All right, we'll just keep on going. So the next question then is why? Thinking about those places that you like to work, that you like to walk. What about them makes them walkable? Just one or two words. The terrain, that it's flat and that it's cool. Some of those basic needs, shade and foliage, not right on the roadway, and some shade and water fountains. There's that balance of being not too crowded, but still being around other people, so being away from cars. And clean air, just green and pleasant. Minimal traffic. It's true, the noise is, there's so many of our senses that make up a place that you want to be and hang out. And then it's long and uninterrupted. That's the Iron Horse Trail really provides that opportunity. And shade trees, interesting views, but then also places to socialize and grab something to eat or drink. The regional connectivity of the Iron Horse Trail, safety, that it's being able to exercise and view the lake and the farmers market. And restrooms, some of the other physical needs too, and away from road traffic. That's great. So now let's go on to, that's really helpful for us to think about, again, what really makes the place a desirable environment to be. So now thinking about the opposite question, instead of where you might like to bike, where do people not want to bike or walk in the project area? So multiple choice, you can select as many as you'd like, but out of the areas listed, where do people not like to bike? And we should probably see a little bit of an inverse from this question from the previous question. Or if there's not, then there's an open-ended question after this. So if you did like to walk at all places, that's a fair answer as well. And probably some of the similarities with being along a roadway, a little bit less desirable than some of the other locations. Again, some of the roadway areas are a little bit less desirable, but some responses for some of the Iron Horse Trail or Central Park that might not be as welcoming as might be desired. And City Center. We'll give this one just one more minute. One more seconds before we move on. So all right, let's keep going. So thinking about the places that you don't like to walk, what is it about them that you don't like to walk by? What is it about those areas that make them less desirable places to walk? Just one or two words. I think we'll have a common theme here of traffic and cars and noise. And then also the interest level, not visually appealing or not activities to draw you to an area. Noise can make it hard to talk to people as you're walking. Feeling that maybe you're not a desirable place to be, it's a little bit less safe. Thinking about addressing dogs, provide an opportunity for people to pick up after themselves and their dog. The need for shade, just a little bit less interesting or less visibly pleasant. Again, sometimes we learn as much from where people like to be as why they don't like to be places as well. So these are great, good information for us to understand. A little bit too exposed, or the lighting is not good. And bikes can be a conflict, especially with the regional connectivity piece. So for the Iron Horse Trail, it needs to be peaceful and relaxing. Terrain too. The hill on Bollinger. Unless you're a traffic engineer, roads can be boring. Not enough plans. This is great input. So I'm gonna keep going. We have a couple more questions before we get to this open question and answer. But what improvements do you think are most important to encourage or create a more inviting walking or biking environment? So out of the potential lists that you have in front of you, out of these, which do you think are the most important? And I believe you can select multiple, but do you think it's shade? Do you think it's wayfinding and signage, seating areas, that it's a wider walkway, separated bike facility, a variety of different experiences, or that there's designated loops? If it's set away from the roadway, that it's buffered and not right along it, that there's lighting or improved crosswalks, or is there another improvement that you think is the most important? Fun to see the bubbles come in. Got some fairly split across a number of different categories right now between shade, seating, wider walkways, separating bikes from pathways, setting the walkway away from roadways, and then having a variety of differences, different experiences, making it interesting, and also lighting. And really good to understand what you think are the more important pieces for us to focus on. And shade and just that the physical nature of the walkway itself is important. I'll give people just a couple more seconds to finish up on this question. And keep moving on. So last two questions. These are open-ended, but complete this sentence with just one or two words. But the walking district will be successful if what? What would make the walking district successful? Right, it's well used, is enticing and connects the community. There's a place to gather or a city square. It's accessible. Traffic is mitigated. Vibrant and connected. Again, that idea, it's not boring, it's a destination and that people feel welcome. Room for users and you feel safe. Guiding a variety of attractions. Vehicle-free, landscaped. Well connected to points of interest. Greenery. It's advertised. Good. People need to know about it. If we have something for each generation in the city, find connected, attracts young and old. The people of San Ramon like to go there. It retains existing resources, connects to neighborhoods outside of the district. So not just about the district, but how we make those connections so you can get there. Arts and things to do, safe and interesting. More like a park, maybe a linear park or greenway. Builds a sense of community, brings people together, connects our community, and it's vibrant, well thought out, fun, shared, and integrates walking. Communicate to people about seasonal activities and be a destination. Keep it renewed so it doesn't get stagnant. Safe. Tracks and connects neighborhoods outside of walking. Interesting mix of water features. Good. Safe and well shaded, lots of park benches. Oh, a trolley, hop on, hop off system. Again, that idea of connecting different ways for people to get around. Lighting for an evening stroll, particularly on a beautiful summer evening. Way to get away from the bustle. Plus a little bit of a hustle. Never boring. Variety of things to choose from. Great, love it, exciting ideas. We're gonna go on to our last question. And this is again, thinking about what makes you most excited about a walking district. If you have to say just one thing, what is it that makes you most excited about having a walking district? That's the destination. Community connection, relaxing. Again, that idea of multiple things for different people, fun and relaxing. People who want to hang out for exercise or to just relax. The signature provides for recreation. You get there without the highway. There's a sense of place. And an option to stay local. yeah, enjoy the great city that San Ramon is. Connects you to history and quaint. Pedestrian oriented. Fun to see these come through. You can meet new friends. You can connect. That it's inclusive. That has an outdoor walk to dining that might be different every time. Again, that idea of variety, being able to have something new and interesting, a little bit of charm. I think that's what makes San Ramon great. You can bike there. It's social, but there's exercise as well. There's wider pathways and shade. You can get your kids off the electronics. That's a good one too. And get people out of the house. More paths, again, that connection to nature, to connect to each other and to the history. It's vehicle free. And you can stay and enjoy. Fun stuff. And community bonding. All right, we'll keep this up for another 30 seconds or so, and then have an opportunity for open question and answer. These are really, really great ideas. And I love seeing the ideas come through about just the connection people have with San Ramon and wanting to connect with each other and have the city continue to be such a great place to live and to explore and recreate. With the opportunity that the walking district has to improve the ability to walk and connect and enhance, again, potential tax revenue with improved economics and potential market opportunities, and just community bonding in destination. All right, well, that's our last Minty question for the evening. And now I'll turn it over to Tyson to facilitate just a question and answer, a little bit of a dialogue between us of being able to answer the questions that were in the question and answer chat box and any others that you might want to share live. So I'll turn it over to Tyson.
Thanks, Steph. So first question that came through, this might be better directed or handled by the city staff, Lauren or Kathy, if you wanted to take this. The question is, are we encouraging developing the unused agricultural land to convert to, community cultural centers and sports parks within this plan?
I'm sure. I'm happy to try and take that. I think that there isn't very much unused agricultural land. That might be referring to the dirt lot where the hotel is going to go. So in this specific area, we do have several parks, I think, cited, and also Central Park, but I'm not clear which agriculture area you might be referencing.
And that could be outside the project boundary as well. Another good comment that we should take note of is to look at AT&T Park, integrating, herbs and vegetables, maybe into the plan or into some of our programming suggestions. So that was a good one. And one question, this would also probably be better answered by either Lauren or Kathy, was how well is the cable car transit shuttle being used? What is the ridership like on that? Do we have an answer for that?
We actually do not. I believe it's a Walnut Creek question. I don't have statistics on any of that. It's something we can inquire about.
Yep. Thanks, Lauren. A question from Mary Ballin. The lakes are on corporate private property, correct? Within the Bishop Ranch, Lake Annabelle, Annabelle Lake and Lake Cecilia.
Yeah, that is correct. They are private property. However, they've been opened up to the public since Bishop Ranch acquired the campus from AT&T. So there are walking trails as well as cafes and restaurants that are accessible to the public. And so it's envisioned as part of the City Walk Master Plan as being an amenity for the community at large. But it will still be owned and maintained by a private entity.
Thanks, Lauren. And another good suggestion is to consider small water features near seating areas and benches, similar to the waterfall sideboard at Danville. Thanks for that comment, Marcy. Here's one that either Steph or Lauren could take. What is the timeline of this development?
Well, I could probably share the timeline again. We have another slide again to remind for the planning process. So the multi-district master plan will be complete. We're shooting for end of July. The development timeline for the City Walk, Lauren might be able to speak to that a little bit better, but I think in terms of, and then being able to identify as part of the master plan, we'll identify a number of sort of short-term projects, and then also thinking about long-term projects as well. So that will be part of the plan itself, some of the content in the plan.
Yeah, so the vision for the City Walk Master Plan is a 25, 27 year phased implementation, largely dependent on market conditions and the like. But the infrastructure framework has been set through the design guidelines for the master plan area. And so there's some certainty regarding connectivity and how we might build on that through this master planning effort.
Perfect, thanks, Steph and Lauren. Here's a good question from Anonymous. Our city youth need a place to have fun and hang out. I wonder if that's been taken into consideration. And then the second half was also part of was a question on timeline. So I think we answered that. And I think, the plan definitely is going to look at where we can place these kind of community nodes and definitely incorporate places for both families and individuals to have fun and hang out. And I think that's kind of the next step as we draft some of these alternatives. Thank you for that question. Another question was, will there be more opportunities for the community to provide feedback? And yes, there will be another virtual workshop after we develop the draft alternatives, where we will come together as a group again, similar in this fashion, and have Menti questions and have the ability for you to provide input. Thanks for that, Scott. Few more questions coming in. So here's a question about wayfinding. Are there plans to place signage to existing or new AED defibrillator devices along various paths? Steph, if you wanted to take that one. I don't think we have thought about that, but that's an interesting consideration.
Yeah, we can Yeah, we can definitely consider it. I think in terms of signage, I think as part of this plan, we're considering how people would find, understand if there are designated routes, how signage might work that way, and connecting people to the district, and really thinking about how it layers with the signage that's either existing or planned for the private developments within the project area, and then also with the Iron Horse Trail. So really, I think we're trying to understand that wayfinding piece, and then also the idea of how signage and wayfinding could be integrated as part of the placemaking for the walking district itself. And then, yeah, I think we'll definitely take the comment about the AED or defibrillator devices, and as we move forward into future phases and consider that.
Thanks, Steph. And here's a general question for our team and probably city staff. Is it possible to get copies of the presentation slides? Will this be distributed? I figure we could post the presentation on one of the portals on the city website. That's my initial thought.
Yeah, so we will definitely, it will be posted, a PDF of the slides will be posted on the website, and then we can email it out to the participants as well.
Great, thanks. Another question, I think in referring back to the agricultural land, the question is, can we propose the plan for use of agricultural land use to be converted to make a more serene connection and contribute to the community with some commercial pitch? This person says they have a plan and need city support for the endeavors. I'm not sure if that falls within our project area. Still unclear on what the agricultural land they might be referring to is.
I think it sounds like that might be an offline conversation. So perhaps they could email and we would be able to get an answer to them with some more specifics at another date.
That'd be great. Good idea, Kathy. And another question, since the project is so long-term, what type of disruption will there be to existing infrastructure? Are we starting to think about that? Steph, if you wanted to take that.
Yeah, I think that it goes along with the idea of identifying what short-term projects might be, and then thinking, that's why we also like to understand what the long-term visions and plans are for areas, so that any short-term improvements are dovetailed in and consider the long-term plan as well. So in terms of disruption to existing infrastructure, there's, that's, I think, a little too early to tell. I think currently the short-term piece will likely be more about identifying, and helping people to identify those areas that they can walk and explore within the existing area of the city core, and then how it builds in the future for future routes as well.
Great. There's a really good suggestion of working with the Arts Advisory Committee. Jenna McCoy says many of them would love to work on this project. I believe we have Michael Lee, who used to be on the Arts Advisory Committee, I believe. But great suggestion.
Yeah, we're definitely happy to work with people and get input.
Okay, a few more questions coming in. This might be a good question for the city. Do you already have security policies to protect the walkers and bikers and the property? I guess I might be asking in terms of.
Yeah, let me see. We certainly have ways that we ensure security, like in Central Park and the city spaces. So it's a great concept. And I think that came across in many of the slides, that safety is important. So the specific area, I think that will become clearer as we continue on this process.
Okay. And another question about timeline. Is there a timeline of what piece is being done and when each piece will be completed? Maybe a phased approach, Steph?
Not yet. So that will be part of the plan itself. Again, we're really at the beginning stages, identifying opportunities, and then as the plan gets developed, would be identifying timelines for different proposed projects.
Perfect. And another question from Jenna. Is there going to be an opportunity to provide feedback other than what's been shown tonight in this format, more free flow feedback rather than measured responses?
Yes, again, if somebody does want to ask a question live, we're trying to be adaptable to the current sort of environment of needing to do remote engagement. But if somebody would like to ask a question or contact either myself or Tyson to provide input, we welcome that. Tyson can share our contact information along with the slides tonight. And then, yeah, if opportunity allows, that we're able to have an in-person meeting next time instead of a webinar, we welcome that opportunity as well.
Perfect. And more of a comment here, just to ensure that we are aware of plans that, any of the plans that BART might have on the north-south segment between Walnut Creek and Dublin. I don't think we have looked at that currently, but that's a great suggestion. Do you have anything else to add to that, Steph?
I don't know.
Okay, perfect. Okay, and then looking at him, doesn't look like I have any hands up. Let's see. Any other final questions for the project team? Okay. If not, we'll conclude this presentation. We really appreciate everyone who's joined. And we really appreciate you giving your feedback and your local knowledge to the project. So again, thanks, and we will talk at the next public meeting.
Great, thank you, Tyson, and thank you everybody for your time tonight and for your input. Again, we look forward to trying to hear from you in as many different ways as possible. Have a good evening.